Number 2 is the one that you want because it coincides with that. Now, if you pick number 1, all it's going to put is Tetrick Technologies. You understand? It's not going to put the period, which you stack the period with it. Okay? So you have to be careful what you do here because, I mean, you don't want this one either. Okay? So you have to be careful with the one that you're picking. And you want to make sure that it's the right one. You in the front.
If you accidentally pick the wrong one, let's say I picked 3 instead of 2, can I go back and change it, or do I have to come out of real time and fix it manually?
Well, I don't know that it's going to give you, and it may. If you put the cursor here at the front, it may give you that option again. Or it may just say, you know what, you picked Tetrick Technologies, and that's what you wanted. So it may, but no big deal. Even if you did, put your cursor right here on I, hit period, it puts the period behind the word, okay? Not in front, behind. So it just puts the period, no big deal. So the next time that you come to it, that you write tet, te period, pick the right one. Make sense? Any questions?
Eclipse understands steno stacking, choice 2, and it automatically offers to place this capitalized text in the job dictionary. Enter. Most of the time you'll probably find that the suggestion you need is at the top of the list. But if Eclipse has not guessed properly, just start typing. No additional steps are needed to make the glance list disappear.
Make sense? So if you accidentally put the P in there, and it was forgive me, no big deal. It's probably going to be one of your suggestions over here in your global magic. You shouldn't have to global it. I don't know that I would even global that and put that in a job dictionary. That's just a misstroke. Unless you just did it every time. One, you probably need to go home and practice a little bit. But, you know, if you're going to do it every time, then, you know, I guess you could, you know, put it in a job dictionary and just say, you know what, I was having a bad day and my middle finger on this one was just hitting that P every time I hit me. Seriously? Maybe. Never happened to me, but whatever. I'm not saying that you don't misstroke stuff, but to misstroke it every doggone time, I don't know. Something up here and working with something here, so. But if you need to, it's just telling you what to do. Okay? Make sense?
A quick note. A little tweaking of your phonetics table can really help Total Eclipse tune in to your writing style. Although Global Magic combines many sophisticated features, it's easy to use, even for editing from the steno keyboard. It can help you to quickly read your steno, greatly reduce your typing, and the more you use it, the better it gets.
Make sense? So the more you use it, the better it's going to get. Okay? The more it's going to know what you're doing. That's why you don't want to use it as a word processor. I think we've talked about that, haven't we? Okay. Now we're going to talk about untranslates and globals.
Let's see some of the choices that AutoMagic offers for dealing with untranslates and global replacements. In 2006, Eclipse introduced Global Magic. Just mark your notes and pick a choice off a list. It's that easy.
Kind of the same stuff that I was just explaining, okay? Now you start marking the steno, and it's going to know what you're doing. It's going to start guessing what you're doing, and if you kind of see here,
pick a choice.
It has a rest. Well, maybe that's how you stroke a rest. AR. I wouldn't suggest it, but whatever. But if that's the way that you stroke it, then it's gonna come up. So now it's gonna start guessing. So the IK is I can. So arrest, throw, stop, I can. Okay? So all it's doing in here, all it's putting in here is what's in your dictionary already. Okay? And if it's not in your dictionary, then it's gonna put your notes in there and it's gonna say, I don't know what that word is. I don't know what that is by itself. Make sense? But all 4 strokes, I think, is this, arthroscopic. So it's gonna give you the one that it thinks is the most likely first, okay? Then it's gonna give you the one that it thinks, well, maybe it's this. I really think it's this, but maybe it's this. So it starts guessing from the most likely on down, okay?
Off a list. It's that easy. You can still use the powerful and efficient globaling dialog, but it takes less steps to use AutoMagic. As soon as I put my cursor on the first part of this string that means arthroscopic, Eclipse prepared a 4-stroke stenoglobal. That's what the...
You understand what it's doing there? So now if you've already globaled it one time, maybe you haven't globaled it. Maybe you globaled it in a totally different job. Maybe it's in your main dictionary. Okay? Now it starts guessing. So now it starts putting it over here. And what it is it's the third thing that it thought, because if you just have your cursor right here, you haven't globaled anything. You notice you haven't globaled anything? Because it's not boxed. Okay, it's not highlighted. And the box isn't here to give you suggestions. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So you just have your cursor right here on A. Now it's going to start guessing, well, is it RA? It's not the way I stroke it, but maybe. If that's the way, if you do the final R for R, maybe. Or if it's a brief that you have for RA, maybe. So it just starts guessing. Now it started guessing, you know what, now I'm looking further down the line, and this is what I think it is. So it says arthroscopic, and the little 4 right here means it's 4 strokes. Okay? So that's what it's telling you right there with the little 4, is that it was 4 strokes. Okay? So that's what it's guessing. It's not guessing that the first word AR is arthroscopic. So don't think that. If you see the little number right here, then it's guessing it has more strokes to it. And it's guessing down the line. Make sense?
4 within parentheses means. And I didn't even have to mark text first, so that saved me several steps. It's choice 3 on the AutoMagic list, so I'll press 3. Now I can press 1.
And you see what it does right there? It takes all of those strokes out and just puts arthroscopic. Just by you pressing number 3. That's it. But if you use it, you have to be in hyperkeys to use it. Okay? Because if you're not in hyperkeys, then it's just going to press 3. Does that make sense? So if you go in there and you have your cursor right here, it's still going to give you the options right here. It's still going to give them to you. Okay? But you go in here to press 3, it's going to put a 3. And you're wondering why it's not putting arthroscopic. It's because you're not in hyperkeys. Does that make sense? It should. So if it's not and it's putting the number, then that's why it's doing what it's doing. You're not in some kind of mode. Just like the opposite that we were talking about last week of, well, I was trying to put numbers in and it kept going and doing a function because you're in hyperkeys. You have to press N, and sometimes just by pressing N doesn't take you completely out of hyperkeys on the number board, okay? So if it's doing another function or doing something crazy, then you have to look over here in your AutoMagic and see if it has insert. Insert text is what it is. And if it does, then you have to pick that number. Does that make sense? I showed you guys that last week, so it should make sense.
I use that every test.
Yeah, good. Good. And start using this stuff, guys, because the more you use it, the more you're going to become familiar with it, because right now you're like, man, that's pretty neat. I'm going to start using that. Don't use it, and before long, you're like, man, how do I insert text? Or how do I put numbers in without it going to the bottom of the page? That's why. Okay? Make sense?
Or 2 if I want this definition to go into my main or job dictionary. I would press 3 if I want to browse to another dictionary. Pressing 4 would apply this global to this document without creating a dictionary entry, what Eclipse users call a trash global. And if I press 5 or the escape key or simply move my cursor,
You understand what it's saying there about putting it in the different dictionaries? If you want it in your main, it's going to go in your main, and that's going to be your stroke for that word every time. Okay? If you want it for a job dictionary, then put it in your job dictionary. Okay? Because if you go back and say you're taking the deposition of Tisha Gonzalez from the Shipley's thing, okay, no big deal. Well, a lot of things that they're talking about in that deposition, now they're going to take the deposition of her supervisor, Carlos Montoya. Well, a lot of the stuff that they talked about, the machines, the location stuff, and you use a lot of the same briefs for that deposition. Well, it's like, you know what? I want that job dictionary to trend with this one because I used a lot of the same briefs that I used for Tisha's deposition. Does that make sense? So when you put it in a trash dictionary is for that document only. Okay? So it's only going to use it in that document. So if you go to use a job dictionary and try to read that job dictionary in there because you were using tet for Tisha, but you put it into a trash dictionary, tet's not going to come up anymore. Does that make sense? Because you used it as a trash, not a job. And you should have used it as a job dictionary. Okay? So that's what it's asking you right here. Do you want it just for that job, which is a trash dictionary, other dictionary, main, whatever, okay?
then that will mean this was simply a local replacement. In other words, creating a global for this technical word took only 1 or 2 steps and involved no typing at all. Here's a 2-stroke on Translate that means garage. I don't have to start off by marking my notes, just place my cursor on.
You see what it's doing there? It already knows what you're trying to do. Okay? So it's already guessing above. Let's say you were trying to stroke Georgia Rage. Okay? Well, that's fine. It's not in here, because the stroke for Georgia is G-A-G-A. It should be. I don't know what y'all's is, whatever. But mine is G-A-G-A twice. Okay? But say I only hit it once, no big deal. But I was trying to stroke Georgia Rage. No big deal. But it thinks that I'm trying to say garage, because that's a pretty good stroke for garage. Which, looking back now, it's like, you know what? That is a pretty good stroke for garage, but I wasn't trying to stroke garage. So I don't want to pick garage, because I was trying to stroke Georgia Rage. But here, they were trying to stroke garage, so now it gives you the option of garage, and it tells you that it's 2 strokes. Okay? So that's what it's telling you right there with the little number, is that it's 2 strokes. Okay?
The first stroke and pick choice 3 from the Automagic list. And now press a number to finish making this global replacement. Again, that would take only 1 or 2 steps. I didn't have to mark notes, and I didn't have to type anything at all. Eclipse Translation Magic does a very good job of
And I was telling you guys about those numbers. I'm not trying to take away from this, but that's what it looks like. Type text, which is in. Well, and you push in, and you know what? It's still not letting me do my numbers. Something's messed up. No. Now it's giving you the options over here. It's not giving you the options of numbers anymore, but you want to type in text. Type in number 6. Number 6 is going to take everything off. Now you can type whatever you want, the numbers also. So if it's not giving you the numbers, that's usually what it hangs up on, is sometimes it's the numbers. So even if you press insert sometimes, it'll hang up and it won't let you do numbers. But if you want to do numbers and it's still not letting you do it, that's probably is what happened. What's happening is that you need to type insert text. Okay? Make sense?
understanding things that are not even in your dictionary, but sometimes the guesses can be incorrect. If so, take a look at the top of the AutoMagic list. You'll find additional choices there, and the one you need will probably be right at the top of the list.
You see what it was doing there? He misstroked,
Sometimes the guesses can be in.
and he put Surrey. Okay? Well, maybe they were talking about Siri on the phone, and that's the way that you heard it, was Surrey. Or maybe they were talking about sugary, but you left the G out. So maybe you guessed right there, and it automatically put sugary in there. No big deal. Put your cursor there. What were you trying to do? Oh, I was trying to do surgery. Oh, okay. No big deal. Put your cursor there. It gives you number 1. You push number 1, it automatically goes in there. You don't have to global it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Okay? It's already in AutoMagic. Okay?
Correct. If so, take a look at the top of the AutoMagic list. You'll find additional choices there, and the one you need will probably be right at the top of the list. These are just some of the ways in which AutoMagic helps you deal with untranslated.
And it'll do it on every word, guys. I know that. Have y'all messed with that? Have y'all messed with it enough? You have your Global Magic on? Because it should give you the box. So every time you move that cursor onto a different word, it's going to give you the different for every word that you go onto. Okay? So right here is, it's fine. Well, that's right. It is fine. It's a contraction. But it's like, it's fine? Does it mean, were you talking about it's? Or it is, it has, it does? It just starts giving you different options of what it thinks that you're trying to do there. Okay?
Plates and global replacements with the minimum number of steps.
Any questions? Excellent. Okay. Now we're going to talk about conflicts.
Eclipse is famous for intelligent conflict resolution. Let's see how it works. Let's see how it works. Here, the word table is an untranslate, although it's been intelligently guessed. I'll define it as a conflict. A backslash will separate each conflict choice from the...
Y'all understand what it's kind of doing right here? It hasn't really explained a whole lot, but this is what a conflict is. So say you write it the same, but maybe it's going to mean different things. Okay? Right now, where is your table is correct. Okay? But here, and you'll see that he created it as a conflict just to show you. Okay? That what he was doing was, does he want just a regular table? It doesn't need to be capitalized if they're just talking about a table. But if they're talking about table 12, now they're talking about a specific table. Okay? So now it needs to be capitalized. And this is the way that you would do it. It's backslash. It's not the front slash. It's backslash. Be real careful on the way that you define it, guys. Because if you define it wrong, it's not going to do what you want it to do. Okay? So it's backslash, not the forward one, the other one, okay? And this is the way that you would do it. So backslash, table, backslash, table, meaning that when it's with a number, that it needs to be capitalized. That's what it's telling it right there. Does that make sense? So this little thing right here means a number. And that's the pound sign. So the pound sign means when any number comes up, then he wants it capitalized. Okay? And then it'll know, you know, and sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't. You know, but you can go through there and just pick, you know what? There was a number there. It already knows that when it's with a number, it needs to be capitalized. Okay?
Next, I'll also include a command that tells the system that if a number follows, the number should be in numeral form, not written form.
And that's what the N is for numeral. Numeral, not word. Numeral. That's what the N is for. Numeral. It's just fun to say, numeral. So when it's in numeral, I don't know. That's what it's telling it. So when there's a number, the pound sign, it's always going to be, so it's not going to be table, capital TWELVE. Does that make sense? It should never be like that. Okay? But if they're talking about 12 tables, that's different. Okay? Do you see how it's different? They're not talking about a specific table. Now they're just talking about a number of tables. Okay?
This conflict will go in my main dictionary. This will actually be two conflicts back to back. Your is a conflict that was resolved by the computer. Here, choice 1 is correct. Here you see that you can have different colors to display.
You see where it was kind of telling you about your? Really, it shouldn't be a conflict.
Aren't there different strokes for you?
You should. You should. Stroke your and your completely different. But if you don't, then you need to create a conflict. Okay? But you should stroke it differently. Because one is a contraction, the other one is just a word. Okay?
The conflicts that you yourself have picked, as opposed to those that the computer has picked, and those that have yet to be resolved.
You see what it's telling you right there? Is the different colors that you have tell you the different things that it's doing. Okay? And it just shows up on your screen. Now when you go to print it, none of this is going to show up. None of the colors are going to show up. That's for your editing screen only. Okay? And we'll get into colors, you know, probably on another day, but you know, that's what it's talking about right here, is that the different colors will tell you exactly what's going on. Okay?
You also notice that the dictionary indicates that Eclipse Artificial Intelligence has learned one rule for resolving this conflict in the future.
So if you put your cursor here and it brings it up, then it already knows, and it's going to tell you how many times it's already resolved it. Okay? And that's just what it's telling you right there. Not that big of a deal. You know, it's just telling you how many times artificial intelligence, that's the AI, right here, has resolved it. So if you use it a lot, then that's what the number is going to tell you, is that, you know, you use this a lot, and this is how many times it, you know, we've resolved it. Okay?
Each time you select a conflict choice, Eclipse can learn from your editing. The more you use it, the smarter it gets.
Did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? I'm going to rewind it because that's exactly what I've been telling you guys.
Choice, Eclipse can learn from your editing. The more you use it, the smarter it gets.
So the more you use it, the smarter it gets, and it knows what you're trying to do. Okay? If you're just using it as an editing station, it's not learning anything. So if you wonder why, God, you know, I'm always doing, you know, this one thing, because you're not using it. You're not using the software to its ability. Does that make sense?
You can always select a different conflict choice if necessary. The number for each choice is displayed in the status bar at the lower left of your screen.
You see what it's talking about there? So if you come down here, and it can be done different ways, then, it may give you the options down here of how you can do it, or it's gonna be in the Global Magic also, okay? Which is no big deal because now they're talking about they're talking to the doctor, not, where is your table that follows table 12 in the book for the doctor? Now they're just talking about a doctor. They're not talking about a specific doctor, they're just talking about a doctor. So now they're talking to the doctor. Now he's a person. Okay? Now he's a specific person, so it needs to be capitalized. So now it gives you the different options. Number 3 is correct. Okay? It's not number 2. Number 2 goes with the word. You guys know that, correct? And then the other one is just if they're just talking about a doctor. The doctors are going to be on table 12. Well, the doctors doesn't need to be capitalized because they're not talking about the specific doctor. They're just talking about a group of people. Okay?
But you can also right-click on a conflict to see its choices.
That's also very important too. So if it doesn't give you the choices over here, you can always right-click on the word, and then it'll give you the different choices. Okay? And then you can just pick one of the ones that you need. If it needs to be, maybe comma, doctor, comma, or just capital doctor. Okay?
And pick the one that is correct.
Any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. Right here they're also showing that you can create conflicts with certain punctuation too. Okay? I'm kind of iffy on that. If you stack it, that's okay. If that's the way you want to do it, fine. I mean, whatever. But I don't do a whole lot of the conflicts like that. Because I do yes, comma, whatever. But if you're trying to save a stroke, which seems to be the norm now, it seems like in school. When I was doing it, it wasn't. I mean, it was just a misstroke. But now people are trying to save strokes. I mean, even reporters are doing it now, where they put, yes, and maybe it was, the answer was yes, and it's yes, question mark. So it means yes as the answer, and then question mark, and they're doing it on purpose to save a stroke. Does that make sense? Do y'all do that? Anybody do that? You heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Well,
Yeah.
is it like where you already have the punctuation built into some of your Q&A stuff, or what is it that you're?
What it's doing is just saving you a stroke. So, say it had question, did you go to the store? Answer yes. So you put answer yes, and it's automatically in there. So you have it in the same stroke.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's YE answer bank.
Yeah.
You do that? Really? How is it?
It's been working okay. I have no
And as long as it
complaints
works,
thus far.
huh?
I have no complaints thus far.
That's good. And as long as it works for you, great.
I got Miss Woodard told us about it
Like just the
a couple
Q&A
of weeks,
sessions,
a
yeah.
couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about it.
I have one for like okay, all right.
Yeah. Yes, no, simple stuff like that. It's not, state your name, or ladies and gentlemen of the jury, question, not that, you know,
Right.
but simple stuff, yes, no, yes ma'am, no ma'am. I don't even know if you can do that, can you? Yes ma'am?
Yeah.
You have to
there's
do
one
it
for
different.
But I always have yes or no, sir, because we only ever have Q&As that have male attorneys.
Yeah, so, I mean, if that's the way you wanna do it, great, and that's just kind of what they're showing you right there, is putting